This is, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, it says we're live.
This is going to be really choppy, guys, because we're testing this out.
The first episode is going to be embarrassing.
Or something.
Your resolution is not optimal.
Whatever. That's because this is 1440 by 900.
Let me refresh this page.
So,
Okay, we now have a preview.
Yeah, so it's doing.
Yay.
Yay.
Viewers, welcome to live chat. You're now listening to Moonhawk Studios presents Redux.
Woo-hoo. All right. Music time. So long since I played that.
Oh God. It's been like years since I've done a podcast now.
You're right.
Alright. Well, welcome to Moonhawk Studios presents Redux.
And I'm locking my chair so it stops squeaking.
Indeed. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and with me in the studio is Keith W.
And I'm actually physically in the studio this time.
This first episode is going to be embarrassing and unscripted, so buckle up, kids.
Yeah.
So, what have we been doing for the last few years?
A lot of stuff. We've been working on various forms of animation.
Hooray!
Some comic-y stuff here and there. And then you've been doing Uber and things, and I've been over here going, I'm a draw today. And those of you, of course, that can't see me over here like gesturing like a mad monkey.
There's a lot of fist waving and head bobbing. And
right.
So basically, we're a couple middle-aged men just sitting around, fucking off on a podcast. Oops, am I supposed to say that? Because I don't quite have this age restricted.
Well, it's not for kids, so
yeah.
I think we can slide on because we're not showing nipples and
nipples and bits.
And I was gonna say
it's
nipples
like,
and bits.
It's like I'm showing my butt right now. Not that anybody can see it.
Pants optional podcast.
As always, we are professionally unprofessional.
Right.
Yes. On a scale from 1 to Japan, I'm still not sure where we rest.
Yeah. Kind of a head scratcher there. It's like, so, all right. I will let you fill in with what you've got on your mind first, so,
right?
And we'll go from there.
Well, a few things about formatting. We're not sure if we're going to go back to the old interview process where we bring minor and major celebrities on the program and talk to them. If we do, it'll probably be a shorter and more informal process. But
yeah.
The show itself is going to be anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. We're going to try to keep it brief and entertaining, and we will mostly be talking about our progress with our TV series and films.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, those of you who already follow the channel know that Starship Moonhawk has begun production, and we've put together quite a few clips to entice possible producers and financiers in the background. We're planning a Kickstarter for January because you do not do a Kickstarter in December.
No.
At least not if you want to be successful. I mean, lots of people do Kickstarters in December, however, they typically fail.
Yeah.
We've got a lot on our plate, too, with that because the production process is involving more people and the price is going up and up and up. So
right.
It's going to be necessary to actually start bringing in revenue and such. And that's why we're going to be doing videos and podcasts more often in order to generate views and likes to the channel. So when you're done watching this, of course, if you've never done so before, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and you will have our eternal gratitude. Also, later on, we'll probably post in the description links to the Patreon as well as direct PayPal donations and so on and so forth. So
right.
There's going to be a lot of that. But yeah, it's going to be laid back. We're probably going to have Kim Godwin back on here from time to time. We planned this well in advance, but didn't alert the media, so to speak.
Right.
We were actually going to launch somewhat on time. And more than likely, this will be our time slot, 9:30 on Tuesdays.
Arizona time.
Arizona time. That is an important distinction because during daylight savings time, we are the same as Pacific. And during regular time, we are on mountain time.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. Because
Yeah,
we don't do no goddamn daylight savings around here.
Right.
Around these parts.
We don't save any daylight. We burn it all.
That's right. We burn the daylight, the midnight oil, and our bridges.
And the candle at both ends.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, Keith.
So, trying to think of what all that we've got under the label that we can talk about here, because I know there are a few things that we're both working on that are outside of that scope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big thing I'm working on right now is I've been developing character rigs so that we can kind of speed up the production down the line. And I'm working on the representation of the teaser opener for the Mercadian Affair Episode 2.
Also known as Choices.
Yeah. And right now I've got one complete 3/4 rig and one complete profile rig, but I've got really cool head rigs that I built, which was probably the most complex thing. So that we have a lip flap blinking, people can look around, their eyes move with, I can have them look at stuff, turn their heads, and I made it so it was persistent so that when you do lip flap and stuff, when you do match moving for mouths, it stays consistent no matter if I keyframe the head turn. So if they're talking while they turn their head, they keep their mouth moves are consistent. Even if it doesn't mean, let's back up a step and let me explain this a little better. Which means that I only have to keyframe the mouths once. And it keyframes basically every mouth position for every position of the head. So, and I wrote a script in After Effects for this specifically so that I can export the DAT files from Papagayo and import that keyframe data into After Effects so I don't have to manually keyframe people's mouth moves. Yay!
That's technical.
Yes. Well, otherwise I have to draw them all by hand, one at a time, or whatever,
Well, I think there's a lot of fundamental misunderstanding in the general public about what animation entails. They just think, you just draw a bunch of pictures and you flap it like a flippy book or something, And it's like, no, it's a little more involved than that.
One of the things that I just recently set up was one of the environments that we're in at the very beginning of this is we crossfade through the ship into Cobalt's dining area, and I made the entire dining area like 2.5 times wider than the shot so that I could pan the camera across it with, and everything's staged in 3D, so you've got foreground elements, midground elements, and background elements, so that things actually parallax realistically as the camera pans over to the table where everyone's sitting. So there was, and Max sat and watched me art this for like 4 days.
And we have more to do tonight, but
yeah, I've got some ideas about that because I've got to do that reverse shot with Cobalt from the angle where he's looking behind him into the kitchen area.
Now, just a quick recap here. Last year, around my dad's birthday in August, we released a draft video of the first half of this episode using my old artwork from the comic, because everything we're doing right now was originally laid down in the webcomic at starshipmoonhawk.com.
Right.
So the important thing to understand there is that in the past year and a half, we have totally redesigned the uniforms.
Yeah.
We've done some production design upgrades to many of the sets. Oshigan, our lead artist.
The house artist.
The house artist, yes. We're emulating his style as much as possible. But our house artist, Oshigan, actually developed a 3D model of the bridge of the Moonhawk and painted over it so that way it looked like the show Voltron, Legendary Defender.
That's the other thing that we're doing, rather speaking of 3D models. The other thing that we've done that we're in the process of releasing is a full opening credit sequence with the full 3D model of the Moonhawk in
Yes.
it, as well as a bonus scene at the little bonus shot at the end that's a little more involved, so you get a little bit of that special effects flair.
Yes, gone are the adaptations of 10-year-old drawings that I made, and being replaced with something that looks like we spent millions of dollars on it. And if you knew what we actually spent on it, we should all be embarrassed.
Yeah. I don't know, the inordinate amount of time that I spent building this model the first time around.
You're like, okay, we're gonna slam this in there, and then we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna click on this, and wow, I have 9 million polygons.
Yeah, I wound up with a really insanely detailed model, and I was like, everything about this is no bueno, because it was so big that on any of the machines that we were trying to render with, it would not. I mean, you're looking at stuff that would render for hours and hours and days and days. So
I didn't try rendering it on the quad-core i5. That might actually have made a slight difference because of the superior math coprocessor. Nor did I try running it on the Opteron machine.
But optimal design.
Yeah. But we needed to streamline that,
Yeah,
because
so
without the server farm,
Yeah, the current model looks just as good, and it's only about 250,000 polys. So that's a substantial chunk of polygons gone from the design to make a more streamlined model that we can actually do more with. And a lot of the extra detail we have substituted using texture, bump maps, and normal maps, so that the ship still has surface detail.
Kim is in the chat, and she says we are quiet.
I am leaned halfway back for starters, but yeah, I've got my mic turned up as much as I can. I think I can turn it up a little bit more. Let's take a wander at this, because we were actually peaking earlier when I first set it up. So let's crank it all the way back up. See if that makes a difference.
Well, the slider in YouTube was not going up very much.
Well, I don't know what the dealio is there, but yeah, I just cranked the mic all the way up because I normally keep it down, because what happens is we're, in the software we're using to stream this, we're writing right into the yellow now. So,
well, so be it. I listened to some old episodes of MSP that we had done previously on YouTube, and many of the voices there were awfully quiet too. The only person who was in the room with the broadcast was Petty Fan.
No. Worst case scenario, I can clean up this audio because I was going to start a recording, but I apparently didn't. I started streaming instead.
You can you can download it off of YouTube later,
and then clean up the audio and re-upload the audio to it.
Yep.
No worries there. We've got a process. Don't lie. Anyway.
Yeah. So are we better now? Can you hear us better?
Yeah. All right. So
I don't know how live this is going to be.
we might have a delay of a few seconds, since we're not streaming complicated and complex visuals.
Right.
So, and you're working on something too.
Yes, I'm developing a brand new series that intended to make as a comic 10 years ago with Hannah Hoppe as the artist. She had worked on Starship Moonhawk before. But it's called Covert Ops, and it's the adventures of the Mad Hatter himself, Micaiah Paladin, and the crew of the Starship Horizon, as told by a couple of junior officers named Dorn and McKittrick. So we brought in a male and a female officer.
You mean Lorne?
No, Dorn. Dawson is his last name.
Lorne Dawson.
Starflip Moonshank. Thank you, Vertigo X.
Yeah, well, you actually made this. He made this comment the other day that he keeps flip-flopping the consonants in Lorne Dawson's name.
So it's Dorn Lawson or Don Lorson, and
yep, right. And McKittrick, and we've created a new character.
Yeah, and I probably shouldn't say this on the air, but I'm going to say it anyway because we call her Lieutenant Commander Barky Yif.
And Barky Wolf and Arf Arf Nafumiku.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so there's a meme going around because of what is it,
Rise
of the Shield Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Raftalia character leveled up awfully quickly is a polite way to put it. And it's like instead of Nafumi-kun, it's Arf Arf Nafumi-kun
because this particular character is a canid.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's the internal studio joke. Now you've learned something additionally terrible about us, because it wouldn't be an episode of MSP if we weren't revealing something terrible about ourselves.
Watch my stuff, please.
Get in there! Oh, we're going to get ourselves canceled.
Right. YouTube's going to slide in. It's like, these guys don't have a whole lot of followers. What's this shit?
Oh my god. Oh my god!
What? They have bigger dicks? Ban them. Wait.
What?
I went somewhere really weird with that. My apologies.
That went into a strange... Okay. Wow, we actually managed to kill 15 minutes.
Right, but no, you were George Carlin, so...
Go ahead.
Where I rolled into that was the whole thing where he's talking about guns and missiles, and he says they're shaped like dicks and all this stuff. He says, there's these different, they have bigger penises, bomb them, and that was the whole thing. He says, and then he goes, look, bullets and missiles are shaped like dicks too. He goes, I don't know, but it's part of the equation.
Talk to the microphone.
So that was what led into that. We were talking about the random, and I went with the what they have, ban them thing. That's where that came from. For anyone who's not following my context.
Mm-hmm. I've adjusted the microphone so that I'm a little closer to it as well.
Yay.
We don't have a cough button.
No, we don't. Actually, technically, we do, because I can just tag that if I need to. You say, he's like, flag it down! Alright, done. So... And of course, no one else is going to get that but you, because I did actually hit the button.
Yeah, I love these visual gags when we're using
a
visual medium, but not using it visually.
Right. So it's like
that's a lot to unpack, right there, folks.
Yeah. And so we're like, we're going to put a video up on YouTube that's audio only.
Well, a lot of podcasters do that.
Yeah, but
I mean, do you really think that it would be entirely marketable if we were actually on camera?
I don't know.
You're like, well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I rate a 10.
At least an 8.5.
On the Richter scale when I walk.
Kim's probably over there shaking her head going, what are these two assholes talking about?
I'm talking about fat shaming myself.
So, there have been a lot of voice actor calls gone out. Everything is closed right now, isn't it?
As far as I know, except we can't seem to get any Latino actors to actually try for Pablo Fernandez. I have a bit of a moral objection to casting a white person as a Latin or Hispanic character. I think I should clarify this. It's kind of important because Moonhawk Publishing strives for ethical casting in everything that we do. We try to find the closest ethnic match who is also the most qualified.
Right.
Exhausting all of those options, then we will find a professional voice actor and simply not have them do a racist accent.
Right.
It's like, just normal speaking voice. Don't try anything funny. Don't go East LA and start throwing out your vatos.
Right.
That would be bad.
Hugo de Vaca.
Yes. The blood of the cow.
There you go.
But it's important to me because I established that as a studio we were going to try to be more inclusive, especially since we are portraying a series that takes place in the 30th century in deep space that involves all of humanity,
right,
as well as our non-human allies.
Right. And even though it's not, we're not plugging actors up on screen, it's still a thing, because even in voice acting realm, and I've seen this pop up here and there with a few of the professional productions that have rolled out, is they do get frustrated when you have a white guy voicing a black character, or vice versa, and things like that. So it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
When there are plenty of black voice actors that could have voiced a black character. Same kind of principle, but we want to kind of stick to that as much as we can.
Right. An example where we had to compromise somewhat is Commodore Solis, because her character is portrayed as being Okinawan and indeterminately Latin and or Hispanic. So as a result, she's ethnically ambiguous, and finding a precise match for that in the acting world would be damn near impossible.
Right.
So we selected Inaris Quinones as our actor because she sounds exactly like her in my head. I never thought in a million years. I basically had to wait for the actor that was perfect for this character to be born in order to actually hear the voice that I hear in my head realized in real time.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you got me over here, I voice Micaiah.
Well, I mean, you're perfect because you're an insane person.
That's right.
You know, so... A little background on Micaiah Paladin. Micaiah Paladin was a Mary Sue I used to write into my Star Trek fan fictions. The entire Zendosian species was part of my Star Trek fan fictions. I realized that this character would make it into Starship Moonhawk, and we had to make some not so subtle changes to him in order to make him viable as a character. And then, even though he is top billed on the new series Covert Ops, as well as a top-tier guest star in Starship Moonhawk, his actual antics are used extremely sparingly. In other words, we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on these other two characters, Dawson and Kits, as I like to call them in the studio. And Micaiah Paladin is kind of there to offer both sage advice and stuff that would be considered eccentric in the most generous of circles.
He's the MacGuffin. He's there to serve the purpose of the story when it's needed.
Well, I mean, he's the commander and all that stuff, you know, so it's kind of like Malcolm McDowell being in the Wing Commander series or something like that, you know, where he's Admiral Tolwyn. It's like, you know, it is possible to get too much Malcolm.
Yeah.
You know, not every movie that he's in can be a Clockwork Orange.
Right.
You know, and that's going way back now. We're going almost 50 years back to, you know...
We're going all the way back to when Kubrick was making a name for himself with controversial movies.
Yeah. So, it's a fine line, but he will fulfill his role as a star. Keith will definitely get plenty of screen time. But like I said, as for his higher tier powers and antics, he's actually shockingly reserved for someone whose moral function to the story is strained at best.
Yeah.
You know, the character comes from a species that has low restrictions on, or low inhibition on sexuality. They're very big on their telepathic powers. They have, you know, all kinds of unusual things like energy projection and healing and so on and so forth. And Micaiah himself is a doctor. Now, what actually qualifies him for that title is questionable. We haven't actually established that in the series as to whether or not he has one or many doctoral degrees.
It's like, what's the word, doc? Is I'm not a doctor, I'm a medic. What's the difference? Doctors help people when they're injured. Medics just make them feel comfortable while they die.
Harsh.
I can't take full credit for that. My first exposure to that mentality came from Red vs. Blue, which was the most amazing thing ever when they brought that up. I was like, that's actually kind of awesome.
Yeah. Keith gets to make certain comments about the military that I'm not allowed to because he actually served.
I did, yes. I'm a disabled veteran, and despite that, my experiences were in the Air Force, and this is more Navy based. Granted,
I'm sorry. What did they call the Air Force?
at the chair force.
Okay. See, I made him say it because I'm not allowed to say that.
Yeah. It's like the dysfunctional family of brothers. It's like we're allowed to make fun of each other, but if you're not part of the family, you don't get to make fun of us. You don't get to make fun of my brothers. Then I have to go kick your ass. That's typically how that works.
All right. My dad can pick on him because
Your dad was Army. Yes.
Yeah. During one of the most unfortunate conflicts in recent history. We won't discuss that in detail because, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The joke with us in the Air Force is talking about Army brats. Typically, you're either a cop or a cook, or you're infantry.
Cannon fodder!
Which is kind of funny because my girlfriend's ex-husband was a cook in the Army.
Whoops. Yeah, but we got a lot going on, so we wanted to start the show up again, have some kind of excuse to be here on a weekly basis, so that way you'll all tune in, possibly subscribe to our channel,
and keep you up to date on what we're doing and where we're at.
Yeah, and you get to listen to our insane ramblings and find new things to say horrible things about us on Twitter.
Yeah, and
Not that that's ever actually happened that I'm aware of.
Who knows? Maybe TV tropes will pick back up on us and we'll start getting more things on the page.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I owe Nakatalili 25 cents for that one to Japan remark.
Well, you know the story behind that. It was originally going to be on a scale of 1 to tentacle.
I didn't hear that part. Okay, now we're now we're going to reveal stuff while the rest of the crew aren't listening.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was because on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to tentacle, and they were worried that it wouldn't jive.
It was during Filthy February where we were interviewing the Filthy Figments women.
I know, but still, it was
literally porn artists.
I know, but still, it was like it's like on a scale. And
one of the comics was called A Date with a Tentacle Monster.
I know.
So it's funny that we thought that they might be squeamish about tentacles.
Well, the second...
Especially after my lack of the penis remark. It's okay, folks. I'm not afraid to throw dirt on myself here.
I know what I'm about.
The hole.
He's just burying himself now.
Yeah, it's like, I know what I'm about, son.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like... I think the 1 to Japan thing was a combination of elements and discussions because even I made a remark well before that where I'd said that, I think there needs to be an upload category on YouTube that was just titled Japan. No explanation, none needed. And that was kind of a thing. And that was where I think part of that suggestion was what led into the on a scale of 1 to Japan.
Oh, God.
The other one that I remember being directly responsible for was I Can't Deal With That Right Now, which was a reference to the 1984 animated Transformers movie. And it just kind of took off and blew up between me and Naka and Ogre and everything, and led to Ultra Magnus gifts being passed back and forth. Where he's sitting there and the sunglasses like drip down until they land on his face, and it says "Can't deal with it."
Yeah.
So yeah.
My hope is that we can honor the past. I got to go off on a little bit of a rant here. One of the reasons why I became despondent and canceled the original show was because we lost so much of the archive. Now I have parts of seasons 6, 7, and 8. When we vainly attempted to simulcast on live stream
yeah.
and Ustream.
Yeah.
So we've still got some of those very good interviews, and it'll probably take me years to convert those into a format where I can upload them to the MSP archive.
Yeah.
On the YouTube channel, which the last 3 seasons? I started with season 12. No, there was 2 seasons, 12 and 13.
Yeah. And
Talk Shoe, what basically happened was they let their system run amok from 2008. I think it was 2008.
2000.
Yeah, from like 2007 or whenever when they first got hot and heavy and got started with podcasting, all the way up until 2015 when they changed servers and data centers, probably even changed hands. And so I get an email saying, Yeah, we've transferred over. Although all of your shows before, what the hell was it? 2013 or something like that are lost. So I've got season 1 and parts of season 2 because what used to happen was we were what was it? It was being uploaded to iTunes.
Yeah.
And I had my computer set up for podcasts so that it would download them. And then sometime in season 2, because at that time I only had an 80 gigabyte hard drive,
Yeah.
I shut that feature off. And so 3 episodes into season 2, I stopped getting downloads because I actually have the physical files from iTunes of the ones downloaded onto my PC.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fucking brilliant on my part.
Well, I mean, the typical practice amongst most businesses you would think would be to have backups and,
Right,
all
but we
that stuff.
recorded directly into TalkShoe for how many years?
Yeah.
So we just, I had this, I'm in the IT field. I spent 23 years selling and repairing computers. You would think that somewhere in that time I would have followed my own advice to always have backups of where we would record it locally, but we were so enamored with the whole live process. I was just like, oh, golly gee, we don't need to do nothing. They'll have it there forever. I don't understand where that stripe of naivete came into play.
I don't know.
But I honestly believe that it would just be archived there forever. I mean, they had shows dating back to when the service launched in the mid-2000s.
Right. And then just all gone.
I was reading an article written by a guy who used to have a Robotech podcast, and he was talking about how he had a 2005 or 2006 interview with Carl Masek, who died like a year after the interview, and like 6 months to a year after the interview, and so then they checked back on TalkShoe, and all that stuff was lost, and it's like,
it's like that's stuff that you can't get back.
Right,
It's gone.
Scott Kurtz of PvP had a podcast on there. Interviewed a lot of people who were either no longer in the business or no longer available. At least 4 people that we interviewed in the old show died.
Yeah.
That I can remember. I'm not missing the season 5 finale.
The show that shall not be mentioned.
Yeah. But beyond that, though, we had a great show for the most part. There was the whole Rule 34 incident too, and
yeah,
Christopher Straub hanging up on us.
Yeah.
At the top of season 3 when Keith joined us officially.
That's right. I doing the show.
That's right. But those minor embarrassments aside, we had a really good program. So when TalkShoe lost that archive and the prospect of having to reassemble what we could from disparate and incorrectly named backup files,
Yeah.
I just kind of shut down. Because at that point, we weren't even interviewing people. We were just kind of kibitzing amongst ourselves. We completed our last interview and then had like 2 shows where we just shot this shit. And we didn't even really have anything going on. I was just starting to get into animation and audiobooks with Keith here. And, we had, but that last season was pretty great. We had Richard Epcar, we had Rebecca Heineman. So hopefully we'll be able to recapture some of that lost glory. But kind of see this show as a clean slate. We will reference stuff that happened before because that's the way to put it into the permanent internet record, so to speak.
That and to add it to canon.
Right. But as notice that this show's cast is much more streamlined. We don't have 100 people talking at each other all at once. We don't have 5 hosts, 3 of which were sitting back kind of quiet.
Right.
Of course, we have somebody sneezing in the background.
Yeah, that would be my girlfriend, who was also part of staff, and she will probably join us on occasion, by the way.
Yep. And of course, in the chat, we have Kim Godwin of Studio H&H, who is also a longtime collaborator and frequent contributor to the show. Hello, Kim.
Hi.
Hello. Five Nights at Freddy, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know what else I have really to add.
I think we filled up a pretty good amount of time, for our introductory show. Gave people some brief history, what we're doing, what we did,
Yeah.
what we did done do.
Dun 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 dun.
I like repeating myself. Did you know I like repeating myself? In case you hadn't heard, I do repeat myself often.
This was brought to you by your Department of Redundancy Department.
Part of the Department of the Navy.
Oh.
I sense the presence of federal agencies bearing down on us from our in our underground studios. So I think I'll use this as an opportunity to sign off. Keith is getting ready to do our outro. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and be looking out for new episodes of Starship Moonhawk and its related series. Until the next time, next week, same bat time, same bat channel, I'm Mac Paladin with Keith W. signing off.